we need to define our time period. We need to say, well, the disease frequency relates to a particular time point. As I said, it might be August 2022 when we did the survey, and that will be the measure that we have at that time point. And if we did the same measurement a bit later or a bit earlier, we would get a different number who had that disease. And the most important descriptive measure here is the prevalence or proportion of people who are positive for the condition at that particular point in time. But of course, there are other measures that might be used, such as the odds of disease. And the proportion is the one that is often quoted for the descriptive measure, but the odds are often used for analytic measures. So the odds are given not by the in a slightly different way from the proportion, in that the odds are that the number positive, not divided by the total number in the population, but the number positive D divided by the number negative, which is N minus D. And so we have the odds, and the odds are not the same as the proportion, except when the disease is a very rare disease. The other important thing to say about the measurement of our condition is that we can't measure the whole population. If it's a very small population, we may be able to do, but most of the time we can't measure the whole population. So we'll take a sample. And if we take a sample, then we will need to make some statistical about that sample in order to relate that sample to the whole population. And I'll say a little bit more about this later. Okay. Any questions so far? The question here from Belachu in Ethiopia, is the prevalence the same as the probability? I would say not. I would say the prevalence is the same as the proportion. It depends what you mean by probability. If you mean what is the probability of one person in the population having that condition, then it would be the same. But that's not a common idea of probability. The probability is more about chance and about the probability of something happening in the future. So I would say the probability is probably not the good word to use. I would use prevalence or proportion. Prevalence being 100%, the proportion multiplied by 100. Okay, there's another question here. What is the difference between prevalence and lifetime prevalence? Lifetime prevalence just means the cumulative prevalence over time, over the whole of one's lifetime, as to whether or not you might have a particular mental health condition. That's because some people might have depression for a period of time, and people might get that depression for a period of, sometimes it's weeks, sometimes it's months, sometimes it's years. Sometimes people might have depression for a period of 2 years or 3 years. Now, what they're saying is lifetime prevalence is just the cumulative prevalence over the whole of someone's lifetime. And there are, the lifetime prevalence. It might also be called lifetime incidence, cumulative incidence. There's many different words that are used there. But prevalence, strictly speaking, refers to the proportion of people, the prevalence of people who have that condition at one particular point in time. Lifetime prevalence, whole of the lifetime, and just say the whole of that period, but it's, strictly speaking, prevalence is referring to a particular time. Okay.